Today. I'm so happy that my two best friends are together, and here's to both of you.
Okay, so does everybody like my new tuxedo? Brand new tuxedo for this wedding, $300. Round trip airfare for two, $400. 3-day car rental and enterprise rental car, $300. Wedding gift, money spent on the bachelor party, 2-night minimum stay at the Cliff House, $540. The ability to stand up here and bust Chip's chops for the next 10 minutes, priceless. So Chip and I have been great friends for 25 years. We may not be friends after this speech. That's a whole other story. But Chip and I met when I was 13 years old. We met in 7th grade. As many of you may or may not know, Chip was held back many years in both elementary and middle school. So I don't know how old Chip was when we were in 7th grade. I just know that he was older. In fact, I still don't know how old Chip was. Does anybody? Chip's like one of those Dominican or Cuban baseball players. You just don't know how old he is, you just know he's old. But anyway, Chip and I met in 7th grade, and we became fast and furious friends, and we've been best friends ever since. And over the course of 25 years, you get to know somebody very well. And I can say this, and as can all of our friends that know Chip well. This sounds like a cliche, but many of us thought this day would never, ever come. We're very happy that it did for both Chip and for AJ. But in order so that everyone understands why I say that, what I'd like to do is I'd like to dissect the evolution of Chip ever since he met Angelica. So the first time I actually heard about Angelica, I didn't know her by name, but Chip called me up and he was telling me that he had this new boss, and he was nervous about this new boss. I have this new boss, I'm all nervous, it's a woman. I've never reported to a woman before, I've never had a boss that's been a woman, except for a few ex-girlfriends. But anyway, so he calls me a few weeks later and he says, "Oh my God, I met my boss. Oh my God, she's so hot. I gotta smoke with her boss. I don't know what to do. I'm so nervous. What do I do?" So I think nothing of it, it's just Chip being Chip. So I passed on it. A couple months later, I asked him, "Hey, what's going on with your smoking hot boss?" And he says, "Oh, you know what? She got transferred. She's not my boss anymore. I never talked to her." So I say, "Okay, Chip's a pretty evasive person. Some people call him sneaky, but why should we split hairs?" So all of a sudden, Chip starts. Every time I say, "Chip, where are you?" He's flying around. He's flying everywhere. Every weekend, he's flying to California one week. He's flying to Boston the next week. He's flying to Atlanta. He's flying to Illinois. The guy's logging more frequent flyer miles than Richard Branson at Virgin Airlines. But I say to him, "Hey Chip, what's going on? Where are you traveling?" "Don't worry about it, nothing. So I say, "Okay, mental note, he's traveling a lot." Well, finally he comes home one weekend and we see a very significant change. To understand this change, you have to understand one thing about Chip, and that's about his hair. Now, I don't have a lot of room to talk, obviously, but this is not about me, it's about Chip. Chip has had gray hair forever. Chip has been dyeing his gray hair forever. Chip had gray hair and he was dyeing it when I met him in 7th grade. For 25 years, the guy has been dyeing his hair black. And all of a sudden, one day, he shows up, after he's traveling all over the place, and he's got gray streaks coming in. So I say, "Chip, what's going on with the gray hair?" He says, "Oh, nothing, I wanted to try something new." So I figure, okay, mental note, no big deal. Well, fast forward a couple months. Next time we see him, boom, that's complete like he is now. The complete sides of his head are completely gray. My one buddy Carp tells me he looks like Paulie Walnut from The Sopranos. So I go, "Paulie, what's up with the hair, dude?" He goes, "Oh, it's just all natural." Anyway, so I look at him. He's got a glass of wine. He's swirling this glass of wine. He's sniffing it like he's Ernest and Julia Gallo. "Oh, this is didactic yet submissive." Like, who is this guy? Guy's been drinking Coors Light for 25 years. When I met the guy in 7th grade, he had a Coors Light bottle in his hand. Now he's swirling wine. So anyway, no big deal. So the next time I see him, in order to understand the next stage, you have to understand one more thing about Chip. 25 years I've known him. He has been the worst dresser in America for 25 years. As part of being an awful dresser, he has his favorite jacket. This thing is awful, and I mean awful. It was like this orange-colored leather suede. We don't know what it was, but it was like we called it, my friends called it the duster, because it looked like one of those dusters out of a Western movie, but this thing was as old as dust, and it hung so low that it actually collected dust. And the guy's had it forever. And he wears it everywhere. It doesn't matter how hot, how cold it is. It can be 125 degrees, boom, Chip's got on the duster. Shorts, flip-flops, duster. When I met the guy in 7th grade, he had on his duster. So all of a sudden, Holy Walnuts comes walking into the restaurant. No duster. I figured, Chip, what's going on? He says, you know, it's time for me to retire the duster. 25 years. Not to mention, his shoes and his belt match for the first time in 25 years. I go, Chip, what's going on? He says, nothing. So I figure, you know what? The guy's 50 years old. He's probably just going through a midlife crisis. No big deal. Well, we got to go a few more months to get the most significant change. In order to understand this change, we've got to go back to the man's hair. For the guy, for 25 years, he's had a tail. Okay? And this is no ordinary tail. This is like a peacock's tail. This thing goes from shoulder to shoulder, and it's curly and wavy, and it's awful. I mean awful. On its best day, you would call it a mullet. And that's what it was. It was a 25-year-old mullet. And the worst part about the mullet is when he dyed his gray hair black, it would turn red, earning him the nickname amongst his friend, the RM, for the red mullet. Well, here comes Paulie Walnuts comes walking, no duster. I see him, he cut the mullet off. So I said, Chucky's in love. So we knew it. So I knew I was going to catch him. So the next week, he tells me he's going out of town. I figure I'm going to catch him. I drive by his house on a Friday night. He's supposed to be out of town. I cruise up past his house. The lights are on in his house. I said, I got him. I come driving up. There he is, out on the porch. The light, there's candles. He's got this porch swing. It's like a bench. And it's swinging, and it's blowing back and forth. The breeze is blowing. Chip's got his arm around his girl. They're swinging. There's candles. There's red wine. There's champagne flutes. There's bruschetta. There's Chinese food. There's a guy in a tuxedo with a violin, and I lock on the brakes, and he sees me. He looks like a deer in headlights, and he runs in the house, pulling the girl in behind me. I got him. I got the red mullet. So the next day he calls me, and by the way, during this evolution, he used to be Chip. Now everyone calls me because he's so serious, Corporate Charles. So I get the phone call from Corporate Charles the next morning. He's like, you know, in his smoking jacket with his ascot. He's like swirling. So, Michael, I actually failed to mention that I have a friend in from out of town. Perhaps you and your wife would care to dine with us this evening. So I say, okay, so myself, my wife Tracy, our friend Scott, and I go out to dinner, and we meet Angelica for the first time. And obviously, it's very clear upon meeting AJ why she's having such a very positive impact on Chip's life. Now, AJ, I got to tell you, though, the guy's $120 soaking wet. He's got a duster, a red mullet, and a bad hair job. You didn't have much to work. But anyway, notwithstanding the lameness of the website, the dance lessons, the bike ride for picnics, I love you more, no, I love you more banter, I do want to say something sincerely, Agent. And that is, Angelica, since meeting you, Chip has obviously changed a lot. There's a side of Chip that's come back to life that I haven't seen in a very, very long time. And honestly, it's a side of Chip that I haven't seen since his very wonderful and very special mother passed away many years ago. And it's a side of Chip that shows love and honor and respect and kindness and a sense of happiness and a sense of being content that I haven't seen in so very long. And it's obviously because of you that this side of Chip has come back to life. So with that said, I would like to ask everyone to raise their glasses and offer a toast to Chip and to Angelica, to two wonderful people. You may have a wonderful life together. Oh, and Chip, one more thing. Once your boss, always your boss.